The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Gee, what an introduction. I didn't think it would stop. Yes, it is me, and I welcome you to our show. We're here every Saturday from 4 to 5, and we have our usual assortment of great guests. And a few things first, as they say, a few things first. Last night, interesting, and I'm going to accompany that with the same thing that happened years ago. Now, here's what happened. G.J. LeMahieu, it was a 1-1 game in the 10th inning, and he hit a ball. Did it clip the line? Well, that might have. Certainly, the Yankees thought it clipped the line, and they ruled it a foul ball, and the Yankees wanted to check it out, and it was still ruled a foul ball. So, obviously, Aaron Boone came out to argue. That's normal. And he got thrown out. But what happened is DJ LeMahieu, who is the nicest guy and the easiest going, he ran to first base, and the first base umpire was a guy named Jeremy Rehack. And as LeMahieu approached him, he said, boy, that call was brutal. And Rehack said, what did you say? And DJ LeMahieu, he said, that was a brutal call. Oh, yeah? You're out of the game. Oh, isn't that ridiculous? Okay. Now, this is why it hit me. When I was doing the Atlanta Hawks basketball games in the early 80s, the coach was probably my best friend in the world, Kevin Lockery. And, Kevin certainly had it with many officials. Some of it in good fun, and some of it, I guess, not in good fun. Anyway, in this game, Kevin yelled at this referee, really nice guy, friend of mine, Joey Crawford. Joey Crawford, brother, was a baseball umpire, and their father had been a baseball umpire. And they were thought of as kind of tough guys. So Lockery yells to Joey Crawford, Joey, he was walking. And Crawford turned around and threw him out. And so I said, Joey Crawford must be the most sensitive human being since Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And it made Sports Illustrated. And then X number of weeks later, Joey Crawford came out, and he looked at me and he said, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, I know. and that was cute. Then I saw him recently, and he gave me a big hug. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I try to tell a story that you may not know. I did one on DiMaggio. I did one on Ted Williams. And today I'm going to do one on Willie Mays. And it's a true story, absolutely true. In March, let's say, spring training time of 1951, Leo DeRocher, the manager of the Giants, couldn't get over a young kid named Willie Mays. He thought he was just great in every aspect of the game. And he begged the Giants to let him have Willie Mays at the beginning of the year, and they would not do it. No, we'll send him back. We want him to prove it again in the minor leagues. He had killed Trenton in Double-A the year before, just coming off his graduation. As he went to Trenton, lit it up. So they said, no, we're going to send him to our top minor league team in Minneapolis. And DeRocher lost the fight. And those were the days when a manager was not controlled by a lot of people, which happens today. He goes right to the front office, and DeRocher was a very tough competitor. So they sent Willie Mays back. And in the month of April and May, I think it was late May, Willie Mays was hitting, dig, 477. You ever hear of anyone hitting 477? So they obviously brought back Willie Mays. And Willie had like most rookies, the Boston rookies, and we'll talk about them later, they're having the same thing. It's tough when you come up. and Willie couldn't get a hit. And I think he was something like 0 for 21. It was a Friday night. I saw the game on TV, so I know this story is true. So he's 0 for 21, and he's in the locker room, and he goes to Leo's office, and he said, "Mr. Leo, can I have a moment?" So he went in, and he said, "I can't hit up here, and I guess you're going to have to send me back to Minneapolis." Leo DeRosa said, "Minneapolis? You're not going anywhere near Minneapolis. You're my center fielder, and you're going to play center field every day, and I don't care if you never get a hit." And Willie Mays went out in the first inning, and this is what I saw. Warren Spahn, the great left-hander, was pitching for the Boston Braves. They weren't to move to Milwaukee till 53, and Willie Mays came up, and he hit a ball over the left field double-deck stands and out, and that was the beginning of Willie Mays. No more talk of Minneapolis. And Willie had a good year. The Giants had that phenomenal comeback, beating the Dodgers on the Bobby Thompson home run in the third and final playoff game, and then played the Yankees, and they lost in 6 games. And a little after that, Willie went into the Army, and he served his 2 years, and he came out in 54, and he led the Giants to the World's Championship. So that's my little Willie Mays story, my little story on DJ LeMahieu. And, I didn't even mention the phone number. First of all, across the way, I have my wonderful people in place. Eric Williams, Jonas Jackson, and the executive producer of the show, Rich Rottobali. And now the phone number. Give it, John, give it. It's 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And we will take your calls. And we'll start doing everything when we return right after this to 77 WABC.
The John Sterling Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, we're back, and you know what I've been doing, making this wonderful conversation show. I've been having my friends on, because they're all bright, and they all speak beautifully, and I'm going to introduce you to another one of my friends, the longtime voice of the Boston Red Sox, Joe Castiglione. And Joe was a member of the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago now, so we welcome Joe in. And my boy, how are you?
Hey, John, great to chat with you. And we're both in semi-retirement. I miss seeing you, but it's great to be able to chat.
Yeah, this is it for the time being. Now, you're going to do some Red Sox games this year, right?
Well, I did 8 spring training games, and I'm contracted to do 30 events for them. And I will be doing some games later in the season, and I think the hometown inning, when we switch booths with whose involvement as you did for so many years.
Yeah, the hometown inning. Oh, I love that. I love that idea. Well, let's begin this way. The Red Sox, who are having a tough time, but not really bad. I mean, they're right around 500, and there are, 100 games to go, so nothing is over. People always want it to be over. They want to have finality, but it's not over. Anyway, the Red Sox have brought up 3 very, very talented young players. And I was talking about Willie Mays. You got to struggle before you start. Joe, why don't you give us a scouting report on all those 3 guys? I'd like to find out for myself.
Well, it's very exciting, John. We go back to when Mookie Betts came up with Jackie Bradley and Andrew Benintendi about 10 years ago. And these 3 have great potential. Kristen Campbell made the club out of spring training. He's just in his 3rd pro season out of Georgia Tech, a very fast riser through the system. He is a right-hand batting infielder. He can play center field. He's played mostly second base, a little bit of center and left. And he had a great month of April. He was the American League Rookie of the Month, hit just over 300. Really struggled in May, and that's been continuing. So we'll see if he needs some more seasoning. But he's been playing fairly regularly at second base, at least against left-hand pitchers. Then there's Marcelo Meyer, who is 22 years old, a left-hand batting shortstop out of Southern California. High school kid. He was signed, a number one pick, and he has hit everywhere he's been in the minor leagues. Left-hand batter, about 6 feet 3 inches tall. He's been playing third base because of the injury to Alex Bregman since he was called up about 10 days ago, and had a 2-home-run game. And after he homered at Yankee Stadium for his first major league home run last Sunday night, and he is a very prized prospect. And the number one prospect in the minor leagues was called up just a few days ago, Roman Anthony. And this kid is about 6'3", 220 pounds, left-hand batter, outstanding power, great knowledge of the strike zone, an outfielder, either left or center, although he has played right at Fenway Park, didn't play much there at AAA. But Roman Anthony is said to be the real thing. He had the one hit so far. I think he's 1 for 15, which was a double to left. But as we all know, what Willie Mays went 0 for 12 before he homered off Warren Spahn.
That's right. And that's why there's always hope. There's great pressure. I remember, Joe, being in Houston when Alex Bregman came up. And a few games, he didn't get a hit. But, I mean, that's not the end of it. Now Alex Bregman is one of the best players in the game. By the way, Marcelo Meyer has power. He might be a power-hitting third baseman, like Devers. It should be noted, all teams have injuries. I don't know what's happened in this era of baseball. And, Joe, we've been in it long enough to know there was a time when people didn't get injured. And now they do. And pitchers get injured, maybe because they're all trying to throw 100 miles an hour. But anyway, for Boston, they lost the corners of their infield. Alex Bregman and Casas, Tristan Casas, left-hand hitter. Well, that's pretty tough to lose power at both corners.
Huge issue, certainly, John. And Tristan Casas, play just sort of tripped over first base, running out a ground ball, and he had ACL surgery, definitely out for the year. He had a slow start, but he's a guy with 35 home run potential.
Yes.
Beginning his third year. Alex Bregman came over as a free agent. He's been tearing it up. He's a right-hand batter made for Fenway Park, a dead pull hitter, and was leading the league in doubles when he had a quad strain. He is progressing and hopes to be back before the All-Star break, but the Red Sox have really missed him on defense as well as offense, because the Red Sox do lead the league in errors, which is one reason, a big reason, why they're one game under 500.
Yeah, the errors are a lot, and it does drive a manager crazy. And, Joe, I have a subscription to the Boston Globe because they have a great sports section. So I can read the Post, a great sports section, and the Globe. And Cora is very honest. He's a little more honest than some managers. He will say the errors are killing us, and that's why we're losing games.
Yeah, you're right, John. And Alex does hold his players accountable, which I think is very good at this day and age because it gives you credibility. And he has clout with players, too. I mean, he's got a 3-year deal, which he's just beginning after taking over in 2018, then, of course, missing a year with the suspension. But he's an in-charge manager, and he does hold the players accountable for playing the game the way it should be played. Starting pitching's been an issue, too, although all of a sudden it's really improved. We saw Garrett Crochet last night spin a beauty, shut out with 1 out of the 9th inning when Aaron Judge in a 1-0 game tied it with a home run. The Red Sox went on to win, but they do have a number one starter now in Garrett Crochet, which
sure
many teams don't have.
Yeah, obviously he's terrific. And it took a while for the White Sox to take him out of the bullpen and start him. And he's in Boston. He's going to be their number one starter for a while.
As long as he stays healthy, he's the real thing. He holds himself accountable. He's got great power and great command, too. So it's really a luxury to have a number one guy. Tanner Houck has been an issue, and so is Brian Bayo, although Bayo won 14 games last year, was very good in his last start. And we'll see him this weekend. The other thing with how it's hard to imagine how he was hit so hard. He had a forearm strain. They put him on the IL because he was probably the number one starter going into this season, hasn't won a game. But we think he's going to be back soon, and hopefully he can find his stuff again.
Well, you have a bunch of hard throwers, but I guess, that's the norm, and maybe that's why there are all these injuries. Any idea why there are all these injuries to pitchers?
Well, I agree with you, John. I think they try to throw as hard as they can, as long as they can.
Right.
And it's sort of been Tampa Bay's philosophy, and they blow out, they replace them. Hard to replace outstanding pitchers, especially starters in this day and age. But I think they do try to throw too hard, generally speaking, and maybe they don't throw enough. They don't get out. A lot of pitchers, young pitchers, are not trained to get out of jams themselves and to work deeper into games. And maybe if they threw more, their arms would bounce back quicker.
Joe, I have, and the same people, I have friends like Jim Cott especially, and Bert Blyleven and Tommy John, and they say they don't throw enough. Just what you hit on. They don't throw enough. Jim Cott said, in my day, we used to throw batting practice.
Yeah, they throw batting practice between starts instead of a bullpen session. And I know we see Bert a lot in spring training because he lives in Fort Myers where the Red Sox train. And Blyleven had 272 complete games. I mean, you're not going to get that for a decade now in Major League Baseball, every team combined.
Yeah, for some reason, I was looking at, I think someone put it in front of me, something that Catfish Hunter did, and, which to us doesn't seem very long ago that Catfish got signed by the Yanks.
Right.
I remember it very well, and because I got a phone call, come out to Shea Stadium where they, in their little offices near Shea, because Yankee Stadium was being redone, the time that Catfish signed on New Year's Eve. Odd time for a signing, but we all got there. And you know how many complete games Hunter had that year? He had 34 complete games. If you added up all the pitchers in the major leagues, you wouldn't get that for the next 5 years.
They don't even start that many games individually. I think 32 is about the tops, maybe 33 with a 5-man rotation.
Well, the pitching records, the great pitching records, are in the book for forever. No one's winning 300 games again. They don't give you a chance to win the game, and obviously the injuries. You throw that hard for that short a time, I guess there are going to be injuries. It drives baseball crazy. They don't know how to keep their pitchers off the IL.
Yeah, I think babying them is a big reason for that. And, of course, any Twins are going to put them on the IL because the pitcher's only 10 days now. And they want to make sure that their investment pays off. So I think they're overly cautious sometimes.
Oh, I think so, too. I agree. Well, one thing I want to note, because you touched on it, last night Garrett Crochet had a shutout, and he was going to finish, which is a big thing in baseball. Now, he said a big thing is almost unheard of.
Right.
Although Dave Peterson of the Mets did that a few days ago. But anyway, when Judge swung, I knew it was a home run. And he really hit the ball as hard as you can hit it, which is something for Judge. He can hit it harder than anyone. And, for a moment, as it soared over the high wall and over the monster seats and out onto Lansdowne Street, I thought maybe that ball has a chance to hit the thruway.
Yeah, very close to a Mass Pike shot.
That's what it was.
We see only a few. I remember one Mark McGuire hit, which ended up on the railroad tracks just in front of the Mass Pike. But this ball was crushed. Garrett Crochet said he did not regret the pitch, which was 99 miles an hour, but he wanted to get it higher, and it was pretty much right down the middle of the plate, right in his zone, and too low, and he nailed it.
Well, it is true. You can see this when the great pitchers are able to keep the ball up at 99, not going to be hit. Maybe popped up or so, but not going to be hit. I remember the year that Washington won the championship. They had to play that one game. What did they call that, Joe? You only had one game to gut or get out.
Elimination game.
Yeah, and they were down, Washington was, in the ninth inning, and Juan Soto was up with 2 outs and men on base, and they couldn't touch Hader. The people got on base because of a walk and a hit batsman and an error, but they couldn't touch him as long as he got the fastball from the mid-chest up or maybe high chest up. They couldn't hit him. Well, you can't throw the ball in the same spot all the time, and finally, in Soto's at bat with 2 outs, 1 out more, and Washington's gone, he got the fastball down, and Soto lined it to right field for a base hit, and Washington won the game, and then went on to win 3 straight series to win the World Series. So
Right.
Crochet had the right idea. If you throw a fastball the way he throws it up, it's not going to be hit or not going to be hit hard.
Yeah, you have to locate it because the hitters will turn around 100 miles an hour if it's not properly located. We've seen that many times.
It is amazing that they can turn around. I agree with you. Fastballs that might be 100 miles an hour. It's not. Seems unbelievable to me, but that's the game we're seeing. It's a very different game. It's a very different game. Although I did see a team recently, Joe, in extra innings with the Manfred man on second base, they actually bunted to get him to third and wound up winning the game. A lot of people don't bunt anymore.
Yeah, that's a lost art, sacrifice bunt especially. And you might see it, in that case, the home team with a score tied, getting the guy to third with 1 out, if they have a guy on deck who's going to make contact. That's not always the case. There's too many strikeouts.
Oh, absolutely. I put a whole premium on putting the ball in play. You don't know if you put it in play if it's going to dunk in somewhere or if it's going to be booted by an infielder. So, Joe, great catching up with you as always. Where are you? Are you in Florida or up in Boston?
No, we're in Boston. And been to Fenway Park several times. And tonight I'll be listening to the game with Will Fleming and Sean McDonough doing it tonight on Red Sox radio and watching it on TV as well. So
that's what
I'd like
I do.
to get out there and say hello to Susan.
Please. And also say hello to Will. I'm very happy that he got the job after you. I know you wanted him too. And he's a very nice guy and a very good broadcaster. So say hello to everyone for me and make a date. You're going to be on this program again. Good idea? I
love it, John. I love 77 WABC. I was listening to them in the late 50s and throughout the 60s when I was living in Connecticut.
I had Jack Marin on, the ex-Bullet.
Oh, left-hand shooter, right?
Yeah, a left-hand shooter, great shooter. And that's what he said. He said, ABC, I was 14 listening to Cousin Brucey. So
and Dan Ingram, my hero.
Yeah, so it's a good place. I landed at a very, very good address. Joe, thank you as always, and I will hope to see you soon.
Good health to you, John. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Now, I'll give you the phone number again, and I have to get to these calls. It's only fair. So I'll get to your calls right after we come back. Phone number is 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And we'll get back in just a moment after we pay some bills on 77 WABC.
The John Sterling Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I made mention before that I've turned this into a conversation show. To me, it sounds so great all the time because the guest is so great. And I mentioned that I have a lot of friends. After all these years in the business, I've been on the air for 65 years, and they're all terrific. Well, I don't have a better friend than the guy who's coming up next. You know him from WFAN with all the myriad talk shows he did, and then from the Mets, all the pre and posts and all the play-by-play. His name is Ed Coleman. Hello, Ed.
Hello, John. How are you? Good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice on the air once again, as a matter of fact.
You can't get away from it. If you're on for 65 years, if you're wondering, Ed and I were on the air together in the beginning of 1980. 81, I think, was the year.
Yeah.
And we started a nationwide talk show called Enterprise, and we thought it was great. It was a wonderful time. 100 young guys and gals up in Connecticut, and partying all the time, and etc. And then what happened, Ed? They, as our good friend Shelley Adler of AP Sports would say, Enterprise Radio, the broke network.
That's exactly what it turned out to be. The now defunct sports network. It was kind of, the Rasmussens were the people who founded ESPN, and they kind of wanted to have a radio network that went along with it about a year later. Unfortunately, the planning was a little bit off. Maybe the timing was a little bit off because, ESPN radio did come along, 4 or 5 years later, something like that. So, but we were, I guess, ahead of our time, John, and the money ran out, as they say.
Very quickly. Really, 6-8 months. It was. I think we just had bad timing.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
In fact, it was Eddie. I was doing the Hawks, and we were in. Doesn't matter where we were, but I got a phone call from a guy next to Jeff Smulyan, and he said to me, "What did you think? What would you think?" It's like picking my brain. What would you think of us buying a station and turning it into an all-sports station, blah, 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 blah? And I said, I honestly think it's a great idea. When I was at Enterprise, we had calls from all over the country, and really enjoyed it. I think if you do that, it will work. And now they didn't do it because I said that, but they bought WHN and then exchanged it for WNBC, which is now FAN, and had, just like ABC, 50,000 watts, clear channel, non-directional, and they had themselves a big time station. You ever think about Enterprise? Do you every now and then miss it?
It's kind of funny. We worked with a lot of great people there, John, and I see Sean McDonough occasionally, and Sean was an intern at Enterprise. And, one of the great broadcasters today, Kevin Harlan, was there as well. He was an intern. Again, we worked with so many great people there, and we did have a great time. There was no question in the heart of Connecticut.
The odd thing is the work, the product was terrific.
Yeah.
I was doing the Washington Bullets, still the Bullets, on TV, and so when I would leave, I would take that guy's shift when I came back, and very often they were all night. And I thought it was fabulous. You do a show and do the sports, and you had tape on every game. So they spent the money, then they ran out of the money. But anyway, it was good for you, too, because it led me to Atlanta, and it led you to FAN and the Mets. When you went there, what did you think of it? Did you think this is going to be a thing?
It was interesting, Joe. You mentioned, John Shannon was our boss at Enterprise, and eventually he was the head, or he was the first head anyway, at FAN when that was founded. And I had, you went to Atlanta, I went back to Boston, and worked at WBZ up there where I had worked before. Went back to the same place, and it was, 1987 at some point, I don't know, maybe March or so, and I get a phone call from John Shannon. And he says exactly what you were saying before. We've got an all-sports station here in New York. We're going to do this. And, I thought about it for a day, and I called him back, and I said, it worked out so well the first time, John. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
That is your humor.
Oh, God.
Shannon really was something. He was very loyal. He took a lot of people down to FAN from Enterprise. Mm-hmm. Anyway, those things, they start, and then they kind of leaven out. And obviously it's worked because that was 88 or 87. No, 87.
87, yeah. Uh-huh.
Eddie, I did a talk show for FAN in the summer because the guy who was doing the show had a heart attack or something, and they had different people fill in. And this was the All-Star break. And I came up from Atlanta. They put me in a great hotel. And so I did this talk show, Afternoon Drive, let's say. Oh, it was Afternoon Drive. And who was my update girl? Susan Waldman.
Ah, there you go.
And that's where we got to be friends. Forget about being on the air all those years later. We were friends starting, and it was 1987. You're right about the date. Yeah. Well, you broadcast a whole lot of Mets, and you went through, I'd say some tough years. And then Mr. Cohen bought the team, and that's the end of the tough days.
Yeah, I would say.
Did you think the Mets team was going to be as good as they are? And they were really good.
They are really good this year, John. Yeah, they've surprised me, I guess, a little bit, simply because when you looked at the pitching staff, you weren't quite sure. They don't have the huge names. They don't have Garrett Cole. I know is hurt this year, but they used to have DeGrom. He's now in Texas. But you know what they have? They have pitching depth, and they've gone about things a little bit different. They certainly went out and spent money for Juan Soto in the off season, and Alonso is having just an incredible year.
Fabulous.
To sign the contract he did and have an out and have the kind of year that he's having, I don't think anyone is in a better place at this point in time than Pete Alonso. He's it's been fabulous. Soto's bat is heating up a little bit, and I think they have. I believe they have the best home record in all of baseball at 27-8 at home. They really established a real home field advantage, so to speak, which they haven't in past years at Citi Field, which is a great place to play. Their run differential is, I think, third best behind the Yankees and Cubs. They have guys coming back too. Sean Manaea is coming back, who was a terrific pitcher for them. They have Frankie Montas, who he's had an up and down career, but it's another healthy arm coming back. Clay Holmes very well too. He's pitched well for them. So they have a lot of depth, and that's one way you can go about it. If you don't have the ace, if you have enough people that can get the job done and you can score some runs, well, they've managed to package that together and have just a tremendous year so far.
Well, the pitchers themselves, David Peterson and Griffin Canning, and you mentioned Clay Holmes. Senga's a terrific pitcher. He's now hurt. But with the hitting they have Lindor and Soto and Alonso, but then the other guys all provide. That's true of the Yankees, too. They have a bunch of young people who are contributing. We know they've got Judge, and they have the two starting pitchers who are so fabulous, and Max Fried and Rodon. So I'm going to ask you some things about the American League as well as the National League with Ed Coleman, and we will return. Ed, you're going to stay with us, right?
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't go anywhere.
Okay. I don't want to have to call the heavy people in. So we'll continue with Ed and have more after we pay some bills at 77 WABC.
The John Sterling Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We are talking with our buddy Ed Coleman, who for so many years did Mets games and FAN talk shows and pre and post. You know what I thought of, Ed, coming in? I know I was going to talk about the Mets with you. You don't want to be wrong, and there are 100 games left. But you know what? This may be the Mets' year. Kind of like, I thought of when the Yankees in 1998, when they couldn't lose. They almost couldn't lose games. I think the Mets are that good. And the thing is that Atlanta got off to a bad start, and they're well under 500. And the Phillies, in other words, could this just be the Mets' year that won't be any angst?
It could be, John. It's interesting. One guy that I wanted to mention that I hadn't was David Stearns, the GM. I think he's done a great job, putting this team together. I like his approach. Let's put it that way, because especially with the pitching, which we were talking about, simply because it's great to go out and get that ace and pay a lot of money to have that guy for a number of years, but at the same time, I think we're seeing that with Garrett Cole this year. Hey, something like Tommy John pops up, okay, and you lose the guy for a year and a half. When you have a lot of depth of maybe lowercase or certainly somewhat lowercase guys, that depth can do a lot of damage. And I think it has done good damage for them this year. So I think I like Stearns' approach and how he's done it. But, I think we see this so often in sports, too. When you almost get to the threshold, which the Mets kind of did last year, they got to, the final game of the NL or the final series in the NLCS, and the Dodgers beat them before they went to the World Series and played the Yankees. But oftentimes when you get to that point, sometimes you take a step back the next year. They don't seem to have taken a step back, so maybe it is their year. It's very possible they can take that step forward and be there. It might be.
Well, when you look at them, and I'm happy to say in my quote-unquote retirement, I watch every game. Not every baseball game, but every baseball game, hockey match, basketball, and I can't wait for football to start. So, I guess my point is, I really think the Mets are good. I mean, people, especially in New York, people are always ready to knock. But I just think they're good. I see their pitching. I know they're not big names, but their pitching is so good. And as far as offense is concerned, they have a terrific offensive team. Yeah, I actually think it's going to be their year. And
it very well could be. I guess the one thing, this to me has always been kind of a fault of this team in the past. It was in 2015 when they went to the World Series against Kansas City. Their infield defense sometimes, befalls them, and it's happened a couple of times this year too. Maybe not as solid as you'd like to be in that situation. Do they have to shore it up a little bit? Maybe. It's possible, and we'll see what they do, trading deadline wise. But they have a lot of pieces. There's no question about that. And I think they have pitching. They have a good bullpen as well, and they have a terrific closer. So we'll see. But I guess if I had to point to anything that might be a downfall or might be a problem for them, it would be infield defense. But we'll see.
Yeah, they do have one really great infield defender in Lindor.
No question.
He's as good a ball player as there is, by the way. Kind of what I say about Jalen Brunson. He's great. He's great, and no one can stop him. But baseball is easier. Basketball is a team game, and maybe they're hurt because Brunson always has the ball. He's great stamina. He has the ball for the whole game. One guy I'd like to mention, give a little plug to, because I really like him, and I think he's doing a great job, and that is Carlos Mendoza. Mendy maybe found something with Aaron Boone. He mixes his team around. He gets guys in there so they're not just sitting on the bench for a long time.
You're right, John. I think he's done a fabulous job with this team, and resting guys when he can and should, and also, inserting guys into the lineup. I think when, they need a lift, either the team needs a lift or that person needs a lift. The other thing that Mets people have told me about many, and listen, you know this with the Mets, they always, when problems came up or there was a sticky point, they always seem to make a story last more than it should, 2 or 3 days at a time because of excuses or saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. When Mendy came, that ended. Several Met people have told me that, over this year and last year as well, too. He shoots straight. He tells you exactly what it is. He's not going to make excuses. He's not going to lie. He's not going to, try to tell a story or fabricate something or, do an end around. I admire that about a person, and I think his players can see that obviously, and they like playing for him, and I certainly think that shows through too.
One of the things I have laughed the most about, and I know you've followed it, is the Aaron Rodgers cycle. Well, one time Aaron Rodgers said, it wasn't untrue, but it said, the thing with the Jets, we've got to cut out all the outside noise. But he didn't say, I'm the outside noise. I'm
the cause of most of it, yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they did, and he's now in Pittsburgh, so he's their problem at this point, I guess. Yeah.
And that's he's the only coach/manager who will knock his players. The others may be tough, but they don't knock. Aaron Boone never knocks a player. I don't think Mendy does.
No.
Thibodeau never knocked a player. I think that's part of the garden, though. I think they don't allow him to do that. But anyway, in this way, that the game has changed so much, and I guess it has changed more in pitching than in anything else.
In baseball, yeah, no, I think it has. I mean, it's listen, it's different. When you see a complete game these days, you almost gasp. It's rare. And there were a couple recently. I think in the past week there were 2 complete games. I said, "What's going on? What's happening here?" The kid Abbott in Cincinnati threw one. Somebody else just threw one the other day too. And you'd love to see pitchers go deeper into games. Pitch at least 7 innings, all the time, and maybe more. But hey, that's the way of the world. You start going to matchups third time around the lineup. You know the deal, John.
Yes.
It drives you crazy. Yeah. It drives you crazy, to watch it because you think back. But listen, a lot of things have changed too. I think. Listen, we both love basketball. I know that we've played it a lot in our lives in our younger days. But the game that we watch these days is very different from the game that you and I played and you and I watched as we were growing up. Very much different.
And broadcast, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen games this year where Team A has a 20-point lead. I'll tell you one game in particular. They have a 20-point lead entering the fourth quarter. This game was Oklahoma City against Minnesota. This is during the season. Mm-hmm. And when they got to the fourth quarter, Chris Jenkins, do I have the right name? No, that's Taylor Jenkins. Chris Finch, the Minnesota coach.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
He said Shea is not going to go through us, over us, and around us. And he went and double-teamed Shea at the out on the court, not waiting for him to put the ball down and all that. They just had 2 players play him. So Minnesota had the advantage, and they whipped the ball around. Everyone's behind the 3-point line, and they took open jump shots. Mm-hmm. You know what they also did? They missed open jump shots. And Minnesota came back and tied the game, and then the Timberwolves won it in overtime. And, that you see. I think that's why the Celtics lost 2 games at home to the Knicks.
You're absolutely right. It's interesting. I mean, to me, they were a slave to analytics. The Celtics, they never deviated from their game plan. I mean, think about this, John. You have a 20-point lead in a game. Probably the only way you can shoot yourself out of it is to keep shooting threes and missing them, which is with what they did. I think in the third quarter of either game 1 or game 2, I can't remember, but they missed 19 of 23 threes.
Oh, it's terrible. And, I'm looking at the set and saying, go for 2, get inside, go to the hole.
Go to the line. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know.
And, if you have a lead and you kept getting 2-pointers, even if they're coming down getting 3, they're not going to get 3 every time. Right. They don't make up enough ground.
You're not going to catch up. You're absolutely right. It's interesting. I was remarking to somebody that I was watching a game with the other day about T.J. McConnell,
who's terrific.
He was a terrific player. I love watching him. But it's interesting. Not a great 3-point shooter, probably, but he's a guy with the way the game is now, where everybody stations themselves in the corners and out of the 3-point line. Here's a guy that just weaves circles around everybody, moving around until he finds somebody open.
I think he is great.
He's fun. He's fun to watch. Yeah,
he's like a little water bug out there, and exactly. And he can really handle the ball. So, as you say, he's dribbling around until someone moves and gets open.
Exactly. Kind of fun to watch in this day and age. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're tied at 2 apiece, and this is going to sound so corny, but I really feel sorry for the team that's going to lose because they're both terrific teams. Indiana is a team game. It's a team game, and they play it as a team game. And OKC, obviously they begin with Shea, but I think I'll be sorry when one of them, and I guarantee this, one of them will lose.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, it's been fun to watch. It really has. I'm a big fan of Rick Carlisle because, listen, I grew up in Boston, and Rick Carlisle was a former Celtic. As a matter of fact, when Bird was with the Celtics, they were best friends. At the time, I think he's a terrific coach. And I don't know enough about the Oklahoma City coach to say he's a terrific coach, but I think he is. He's done a terrific job with that team. And I agree with you. It's tough. I hope it goes 7 games, and comes down to the end. It seems like every game comes down to the end. It's been terrific to watch. It really has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, because they both play so hard. I thought when Indiana took a 2-1 lead, I thought their defense was real. They were getting in your shirt. They were getting in their shirt. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Ed made a point before that we both played a lot of basketball. And there were times in my life I played every single day. I don't have the time to go into why. And Ed Coleman, he was a great jump shooter. Very much like Anunoby in the corner, jump shooter out of the corner.
I think those days have passed me by, John, simply from the fact that there's no jump in my shoot anymore.
Right, I do push-shots too. Eddie, thank you, and I can't wait for you to come on again. So before you leave, you have to promise you'll come on again.
Absolutely. Anytime, John, you know that. Love you. Great to hear you again, and all the best.
Thank you, Eddie. We have to run. Remember, Jonas Jackson, Eric Williams, and Rich Rattabali, and I'll see you next Saturday at 4 in the afternoon. This is John Sterling. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to The John Sterling Show. You can hear The John Sterling Show Saturdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?